What's up, FDA?
Hey, did you guys see Cleve had me on towards the latter half?
Yeah, that's why I shared it, because
yeah.
I mean, I don't like anybody else on there, just like you. No, I'm joking. I'm joking, Alex. I'm joking, Cleve. I'm joking, Father Stephen.
Father Stephen the Young had pointed to, because you're going to see this with the Orthodox Latinizers. They play that word game. Well, we should be able to use this, but that's not what I mean. I have a different version than Calvin and the Reformers. And Father Stephen the Young rightfully pointed out, it doesn't matter if you change the notion of those words and stuff to what they're doing. It ends up in the same way. So even if Christ isn't damned, I just saw, that, the wrath of the Father's poured upon. Well, that splits the wills. Number two, and then this guy says, well, it's from the entire Trinity.
Yeah, so now you're an historian. Good job.
Yeah, so it's...
Now you split the natures of Christ.
It's not and then this guy was, what was he saying?
By the way, that would require Jesus being a human subject, too, to be a subject to receive the wrath. Because it doesn't make any sense for an impersonal nature to receive the wrath. So, again, they don't understand the
wrath, because I asked him, I was basically asking him, is it caused from God? Right? Because we can speak about wrath, like, there are quotes from the fathers that talk about Christ receiving the wrath, but that just means taking on our...
That means he took on the fallen state to undergo the severance of his human will from his human body, of human soul from his human body.
Insofar as that God allows it.
Yeah, but again, even if that was the case, it's super devastating to admit that the human nature is some sort of subject that receives this, because that would require a Nestorian dual hypostatic, dual person Christology, which is again, every one of these angles. Go ahead.
You're trying to get around this stuff,
right?
And they're trying to sneak in some Latin version and even Protestant kind of ideas behind this, changing the words and be like, oh, you see, it's the God, the Trinity allows it to happen, and Christ willfully takes it on, and that's the wrath. But the thing is, it ends up in the same place.
Exactly.
It doesn't matter how you change those words,
right?
Unless you understand it, and this is the key. Pull up one living bishop or priest that says what these guys say.
No,
and here's the other question we always bring up. Okay, so we're arguing about the fathers. They're saying, I'm right, all the priests and bishops who are alive are wrong because they're modernist. Well, how in their ecclesiology is this solved?
It's just stupid on so many levels.
They're Protestants because, well, you know what? Apart from the epistemic issue, the clergy, the bishops, and the synods hold normative authority and bind you on. So congratulations, you're a Protestant. So even
they've always, they're still Protestants.
Interpretation,
right?
You're not Orthodox.
Well, again, they don't, but yeah, exactly. The whole ethos is wrong. Which this is the easy indicator for people that don't understand the theology, right? Let's say you don't understand the theology, it's confusing, it's deep. I'm not going to go read all these reformers to see what their position is. Okay, well, just understand that like none of the clergy teach this. Like it's that easy. So I want to note.
You can make an appeal. Suppose, and Father Deacon Ananias has been wrong 2 times in his life, but suppose I'm wrong on this. I'm still your authority and I bind it. Now we have appeals. It means you can go like a court above me. And then the priest could be wrong. The bishop, but there's a court of appeals, right? It's still law until it's appealed to. You still have to hold to it. Basically, people, that's what just shows they're thoroughly Protestant.
Yes. Now, guys. So.
Oh, Alex is in there too. So he
right.
Can chime in too.
Yeah, he can. Just 1 second. So I want people to understand. I've been making this argument, and I'm not the first to make this. People made this before me, sure, even from the Catholic perspective against the Protestant reformers. But I started making this argument back in 2007 and 8. And I went and I collected a bunch of Protestant people, theologians, systematic theologians, Calvinists, Lutherans, admitting that the Son was damned, condemned, cut off, rejected, etc., etc., etc. And you can see here in this blog, now it says Nick's Catholic blog, a little bit of history here. All of these quotes are from me. I got all these together. I used to be friends with a guy named Nicholas El Hajj, a Lebanese Catholic dude. And he wrote this blog post, which is still very useful, very accessible. Was Jesus damned in your place? And if you scroll through this, you will see John Piper. This is a black Calvinist dude in Nigeria, I think. Lorraine Bettner. Every Calvinist knows who Lorraine Bettner is. Classic Calvinist book. John MacArthur. John MacArthur again. Here's John Calvin in the Institutes talking about Christ undergoing this punishment. Spiritual punishment. Which would be what? What would that be? Here's Charles Hodge saying it. Here's J.I. Packer saying it. These are Reformed luminaries. Here's Wayne Grudem saying it. He wrote a famous Calvinist systematic theology from Southern Baptist Seminary. Here is R.C. Sproul saying it. Here's John Piper saying it. C.J. Mahaney saying it. So all of these Reformed luminaries, and by the way, there's another article at this website that has Luther saying it. I think it's, let's just go back to Nick's. I think it's this one. Here's one specifically about John Piper. And let's see. I know there's Luther quotes somewhere because I've copied and pasted the Martin Luther quotes on this in the past. And if I recall, Luther says something like, yeah, Jesus didn't literally go to hell, but during the time on the cross, he experienced the equivalence of eternal damnation. I think that's the way Luther frames it. So it's true that each of these different reformers and theologians kind of gets creative and tries to come up with a unique kind of interpretations of this. But what's not really disputed is, as Father Stephen DeYoung was arguing in you guys' podcast the other day, what's being argued is actually that there's an equivalence exchange that's necessary for PSA. In other words, if we're going to get his righteousness, he has to take the wrath due to us. Oh, okay, well, is the wrath due to us just physical death? And they all say, no, it's spiritual death. Oh, okay, eternal damnation, isn't it? I mean, that's the classic PSA model, whether it's Luther or Calvin, or Peter Vermigli. Okay, well then, in some sense, for this stupid model to work, Jesus has to be rejected by God. And you either say it's the Trinity being split, with the second person being damned by the Father. By the way, just from basic Trinitarian theology, this makes absolutely no sense. Does that mean that the Father and the Spirit no longer indwell the Son? So you no longer have perichoresis? Does this mean that they no longer have the same will? So now there's multiple wills in the Trinity? It's just stupid on so many levels. And it's just like the other problems with the Monophysites. All of these positions flow from, listen very carefully, not distinguishing nature, person, will, and energy in the Trinity. Period. Every one of these will flow from, the Orthodox position will flow from nature, person, will, energy. That's why the Monophysites have to say, by the time of Severus, oh no, actually in Christology, we don't make the Trinitarian distinction nature, person, will, and energy. It's no longer reflexive between Trinity and incarnation. Why? To save their position. For Calvinists, oh, right, no longer is nature, person, will, energy distinct in the Trinity because the Son is damned. Okay, what does that mean? The human nature is damned, so now he's a human subject that's damned. And by the way, how does a damning of a human created particular body and soul, how does that pay off an infinite debt? Oh, well, he's infinitely righteous. Yeah, but the human nature is a created thing. So it's still not an equivalence exchange. It doesn't make any sense. Yeah, go ahead.
Stephen pointed out, and that's works-based salvation.
It is works-based. And also, well, actually for the Calvinists, so they believe in the covenant of grace and the covenant of works. So for them, Jesus fulfills the covenant of works. And I wrote an essay on this, by the way, about 15 years ago, about how, oh, so now the created temporal merits are what saved you? And if you get really precise with a lot of Calvinists, they'll say, yes, Jesus' created temporal merits save us. And they'll say, well, and it's because he's a divine son. Oh, okay. But it's the created temporal works that save us through fulfilling the covenant of works, right? Yes, that is correct. Oh, so you believe in created grace.
Yeah.
And so now they're in the created grace problem, which if you read Palamas debating the Barlaymite, he says, well, now, wait a minute. So we're saved by a creature? Because that's just another form of Arianism. The reason the fathers rejected Arianism is because how could a creature save us? Okay, we'll just transfer that into the works situation. How can created works save us? And now you've got the Calvinist right there. Cleve, what's up? And then we'll go to Alex. And then we'll go to Amir the Muslim.
What's up, Jay?
What's up, dog?
Yeah, hey, I wanted to add in one thing I noticed with a lot of Latinizer guys is they'll well, first off, they're all anonymous accounts, most of them, but they'll just blast quotes. If you actually examine the quotes that they blast out, a lot of times these guys are doing like AI translations,
exactly,
or they're adding and changing words, which is absolutely insane. Or when they try to cite like people who are still living, I noticed this the other day. I think it was Orthodox Ensign or something. He's a Latinizer guy on Twitter, an anonymous account. He was trying to quote Father John Whitford as a Latinizer, said that he taught like original guilt and all this other stuff. Somebody pinged him, and he chimes. He's like, "I do not teach PSA."
Of course not. Nobody does.
He cleared it up like
these people are like the Muslims. They can't understand that a word can mean different things to different contexts. Is that?
Yeah.
But yeah, no, that's a great point. By the way, another person who was causing quite a bit of a problem in the Discord over the last 2 years is apparently now going into schism in terms of the schismatic so-called Orthodox. And this is exactly what we warned would happen when you decide that all the clergy are now apostate and modernist, and I'm going to fix Orthodoxy as a 20-year-old dude who just converted because I read these memes, these meme quotations, and I'm going to correct all the clergy. This is a recurring pattern, and they always end up going in the same direction.
Hey, remember that? I can't even remember. It was years ago. But we had somebody arguing with us years back that said they knew Greek and they were a Greek scholar, and we found out they were using AI.
No, that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
And this is what Talon does. He does the exact same thing. It's like these people who are like 15, 16, 17, 18, they have no problem lying. They just lie. They're like, yeah, I'm a scholar.
On stream when he was site checking one of these meme quotes like live, and he just Googled it. He just inserted it into Google, and there was like not even like tangential results. There were absolutely zero results.
Yeah.
Literally not even one result for the quote that he put into Google. And they're reaching a state of absurdity now to where they are quoting like Father John Whiteford, even Father Josiah.
Well, that's all dishonest. That's straight up lies.
Yeah. Father Josiah attended like the top Calvinist seminary in the country. He is not teaching PSA. He knows better than any of these guys what PSA is. It's the hubris is like incredible. It's really unreal.
Yeah, so none of these people are actually Orthodox, right? They're like 17-year-old. They're like 17-year-old furries, basically.
Yeah. Did we bring this up in the stream? I can't remember because I came in halfway too. But they want to put this obviously in a forensic legal category. And some guy was arguing with me today that, well, he broke the moral law, so yeah, it is in a legal category rather than an ontological category. But I was thinking about an argument. I can't wait if we brought this up. Doesn't that make it necessary that God punishes? And so God doesn't have free will? If it's a legal category, right, when you're cashing this stuff out, now we could talk about the moral. I was saying, well, I mean, there's laws of essences and laws moral. Like, it depends what you mean. So they're being very vague what they mean. But what they're trying to get you, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, that there must be a necessity of like a just desserts. The justice must be satisfied at like a statutory level.
Yeah,
I think that's correct.
Jay was mentioning those quotes earlier, and because a certain supposed Dr. Jordan Cooper, when I made a video disparaging me to his 80,000 subscribers and like disparaging my character, after just going back and forth in like 5 tweets, I guess that's a assessment enough for him to discern whether or not I'm worth engaging with. But they end up taking this like weird ecumenist, like pan-Protestant approach where it's like, oh, really? We're all just trying to say the same thing. We're just using different language. And it's like, no, like you said, Father Deacon, they're imposing a necessity on God. Like their entire framework is different. And I think you made the point in the stream too, that PSA, this presuppose some form of nominalism. And like the entire scheme is falsely premised on this like very shaky philosophical scaffolding that nobody would have had when they
This is the argument I've been making. Yeah, exactly, Alex. I've been making this argument for a long time. I'm not trying to be to my horn, but I read this in Heiko Oberman, who was a Lutheran scholar who wrote Harvest of Medieval Theology, and that's analyzing from a Lutheran scholarly perspective the influences on Martin Luther's own idea of a purely legal transition for justification, and basically, you know, in some of the similar veins of what Alistair McGrath argues, he says you have to actually just adopt Gabriel Bile and William of Occam's nominalism to even have the framework to say that there's no actual change in the person that results in justification or the change in legal status. It's only on the basis of Christ's righteousness being imputed to their bank account to change their legal status and disposition towards God. But the problem is that nobody in the ancient and medieval world had that type of nominalist perspective. That alone is devastating. I actually brought this up too in my debate with Ruslan in the second half of our podcast. I just kept explaining that to him, and he never got it. I'm not trying to be rude, but Ruslan doesn't know what nominalism is, so it's just sort of like, okay, what does that mean? Like, you know, people don't understand that you can't just go to the Bible and read the text and understand the Greek, like James White says, without having the context of the development of theology for the next 2,000 years and what even Roman Catholics were critiquing the reformers about a long time. I first read that critique, actually, I think, from a Catholic who was saying, you really have to have some kind of nominalism to get, you know, Luther's purely juridical transition perspective.
Yeah. Well, I think that's one of the absurdities of accepting penal substitutionary atonement as a model. Is one of the logical entailments is imputed righteousness. But even Protestant scholars will admit that that's not present in the first 1,000 years of the church. Like McGrath had admitted as much. So, I mean, you're basically acknowledging that you're accepting a novelty, and you're trying to kind of force that back into the language of the church fathers of the first 1,000 years of the church.
Nate Argo says, Jay, you are so wrong about this. Okay, cool, Nate, call in and let's talk about it. Tell me where specifically Heiko Oberman is wrong. Tell me where Alistair McGrath is wrong. And give me some examples of nominalism in the first 1,000 years of Christianity. Because if there's not, then that's a problem. Victor Ziegler, $10. Jay, your philosophy course is actually awesome. In fact, class is in session. I'm at the metaphysics section right now, and I'm learning so much. Thank you for all of that. Now, guys, thank you so much for reminding me. I always forget to promote the philosophy course, and here's the link. It is in the show description, by the way, at the Autonomy Agora Marketplace, which is Richard Grove's outlet. Richard was kind enough to help record this entire philosophy course. It's 12 lectures, beginning with the pre-Socratics all the way up to moderns and postmoderns. Nietzsche and postmodernism, I think, is where we capped it off. But it's 26 hours of lecture material, including Father Deacon Dr. Ananias, who makes an appearance on the epistemology course, Father Vladimir Kadanov, who makes an appearance on the aesthetics course. So everybody really loves this class. I know it's a little bit pricey in terms of what people think courses are, but this is actually half of the cost of a college class. No, you don't get credit for it, but you get a better education looking at the history of Western philosophy from an Orthodox perspective. So that's the advantage.
Credit in heaven.
You get credit in heaven. You fulfill the covenant of works by taking this course. If you're interested in a Trinitarian Orthodox assessment of the history of Western philosophy. So, and to be fair, I got the idea for this class from Greg Bonson, because Dr. Bonson did do a really good history of Western philosophy course that I want to say was like 30 or 40 lectures. It is really good, but obviously there's going to be some pretty significant flaws and shortcoming with a Calvinist assessment of the history of Western philosophy. So I tried to one-up old Dr. GB by doing it from an Orthodox perspective. And so that's what this text is, and you can get the link there. Now, the dude in the chat here is really assassin, and he's eager to come on. But before we do that...